Hey guys, this is the new Lexus RZ. This is the natural competitor to the likes of the BMW iX. It costs about 430,000 ringgit and it has its own unique appeal. I know that you can get the iX for slightly cheaper, but that's only because BMW is throwing some hefty discounts into the market. But does that mean that the RZ does not have its own unique appeal? Definitely not, because after having driven it, we really like the way the car feels. And in typical Lexus fashion, it's incredibly refined as well. In fact, Lexus has put in a lot of effort into ensuring that the interior remains as quiet as it can be. Because the one thing about EVs is that because there's no engine, the interior is naturally quiet. But because it's quiet, you tend to hear ambient sounds as well as tire noise that is more amplified and that intrudes back into the cabin, but not with the RZ. And there's other things as well that we really like about the new RZ, which makes us kind of feel, is this a better buy than the BMW iX? To answer that question, we'll first have to acknowledge our sponsor for just 60 seconds. We'll be right back.
Loyalty programs are great, but don't you just hate it when you lose the card or you forget to bring it and then you end up losing out on all those points? Well, BH Petrol has an ingenious solution to it. Rather than coming up with a card, they have launched the BH Petrol e-card application, and it's available on both Android as well as for iPhones. What this does is you basically pour as you normally would, pick up the receipt and simply scan it. You get 1 point for every liter that you spend. And it has a lot of exciting products that you can actually trade your points in for. Right now, with BH Petrol's e-card loyalty program, I don't have to worry about losing my card or even losing out on my loyalty points, making BH Petrol's e-card loyalty program the right choice.
Thanks for sticking around, guys. So, while other car makers are focusing on their battery, focusing on range and on reducing charge time, Lexus has focused on that as well, but at the same time, they have focused on refinement. Lexus has made a name for itself by focusing on refinement, on comfort, as well as on proper engineering that focuses on the driver as well as the occupants. Now, the problem with EVs, as I've said earlier, is that because they're so quiet, sometimes ambient sounds protrude back into the cabin. Lexus wanted to reduce that, and they took a couple of different approaches to be able to do that. And one of that approach is to introduce a liner that basically surrounds the entire bonnet and reduces or practically eliminates the air that goes through the bonnet. So when air goes through here, it creates sounds, vibrations and such. But because there's no engine to cool, they created a liner in here around the bonnet, and which ensures that air does not escape from this part over here, ensuring vibration and noise levels from the air is kept down to a minimum. After that, they have also introduced vibration dampeners on the top over here, on the top of the roof. And this, if you can hear this, it sounds like there's a lot of stuff going on inside. This basically ensures that the sounds and noise that comes from the roof is also eliminated. The other thing is, they have also introduced these fins at the top over here, and this basically ensures that air travels over a longer distance. When air escapes through here, there's little chance of creating dirty air over here, which can also reduce noise. When there's dirty air over here, you get more noise, but if it travels over a longer distance, it's not as noisy.
The interior, on the other hand, is exactly what you would expect a Lexus to be like. It offers a human-centric design and technology, which Lexus calls the Tazuna concept, which is utilized in all Lexus vehicles. Design-wise, the interior of the RZ is nearly identical to that of the RX, with some key differences such as the placement of the air conditioning vents and also the gear selector. The gear lever in the RZ is completely different from the RX and instead uses a rotating dial shifter, whilst the steering wheel on the other hand is nearly identical to the one in the RX. The interior trimming includes Suyasumi film ornamentation as well as ultra suede upholstery that is made out of sustainable materials. Entertainment and controls are accessed through a 14-inch multimedia display unit, whilst music is played through a 13-speaker Mark Levinson premium surround sound system.
Now before we get going, let's talk a little bit about the numbers. Now the Lexus RZ uses dual motors. So you have one motor at the front and one motor at the back. So Lexus calls this e-axle, essentially making this an all-wheel drive machine. And at the same time, it has a combined system output of 313 horsepower and over 400 Newton meters of torque. Now this basically gets the car up from 0 to 100 in just 5.3 seconds, and it tops out at 160 kilometers per hour. Now it is capable of taking 11 kilowatt AC charging, which will take about 6.5 hours from 0 to 100%, and up to 150 kilowatts of DC charging, which will just take you 30 minutes to go from 0 to 80%. Now the Lexus e-axle is actually a very clever system because it doesn't have a differential in the traditional sense. Instead, it uses clever electronics to send power to the front as well as to the back wheels. In fact, the front motor by itself produces about 150 horsepower. So yes, it's quite clever in the way it transfers power, but at the same time, because have any rotating mass or anything of that sort, keeps the interior very refined.
On the move is when the Lexus RZ is truly in its element, because not only is it just completely serene in here, I mean, if I turn it down a couple of notches, I'll be whispering. And it's just amazing how quiet it is over here. I do get some tire noise back in here, but I'm also doing some speeds that can get me some really hefty fines, so that's not something I'm going to be mentioning. I'm just going to tell you that the refinement levels in here is truly something else. But of course, you would expect that from a Lexus. The other thing cancel. The other thing that I really like about the car is the Direct 4 all-wheel drive system. Now Lexus says that the RZ is the first Lexus to offer such a system. It's basically an electronic all-wheel drive system, which I mentioned earlier. But it's not only intelligent in the way that it transfers power to individual wheels, but it can also do the same when it comes to braking power. So you can figure out which wheel needs better braking performance and such, and well, basically ensure that that particular wheel has maximized its braking potential. So that's very intelligent if you ask me. And I think at 430,000 ringgit, it's not a bad deal. Of course, there are cars that go further, charge faster. In fact, there are cars that have 22 kilowatt AC charging capabilities as well. But after all, this is a Lexus, and you don't really hear Lexus Malaysia giving hefty discounts just to secure sales. That is why we are seeing so many BMW iXs, BMW i7s on our Malaysian roads. I'm talking about the EV version of the i7. So, but you don't get that with Lexus though. That is something that I respect Lexus for.
Well, that and the fact that the batteries of the Lexus RZ have been designed to retain up to 90% of their charging capacity for up to 10 years. While a lot of electric cars lose their capacity after 5 years, which inadvertently results in lower used car value. It basically affects how much you can get for the car, after the product life cycle when you would like to sell it. So with the Lexus though, it can retain up to 90% of its charging capacity. You don't really get that with other EVs. So I think full credit to Lexus as well as the RZ to be able to do that. Guys, that's it on my first impression of the new Lexus RZ. Is it a better buy than the BMW iX? For one, I think so. Of course, I think the BMW iX is slightly bigger, but when it comes to refinement, when it comes to technology and engineering, it's difficult to beat the Lexus RZ. As usual guys, thank you for watching. Do consider subscribing. I now have to go return the car. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding you.